Good afternoon, everyone. I think we are ready to go now. Welcome to the March 23rd, 2022 All In for Kansas Kids biweekly webinar. I am Debbie Deer, and I am joined today by Hannah McGahee, and we both work for the Kansas Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund, and we'll be working together to bring you this webinar today. And Hannah just got done getting her computer back up and running, so I think we're good to roll now. And if we have another glitch along the way, thank you for your patience. Today's agenda will be our general updates that we always like to share with you on trainings and programs and funding opportunities that are available for you with the children and families that you provide services to. And then for our program today, we are joined by Kelly Cahill with Daycare Connection and Jill Ladd with the Kansas Department of Education. And they will both be sharing information with us on the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or better known to many of you as CACFP. So to get started on our general updates, we want to continue announcing to you about the sustainability grants, which are in round 3. Those started on March 1st. And this is available through a partnership with KDHE and Child Care Aware of Kansas. And applications will be accepted through November 30th with an eligibility of up to 14 monthly payments that are available. And you can find the link in the chat, as well as all the rest of the links that I'm going to be referring to. And I hope that many of you can look into this, or maybe you already have, to definitely benefit the important work that you are doing to provide care for children in Kansas. We also want to announce the Kansas Association for Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Annual Conference that is scheduled for April 28th and 29th. There is going to be a keynote by Dr. Mona Delahook, as well as a pre-conference book study by her. She is a pediatric psychologist and author, and that will be taking place on April 13th. So there is information in the chat about how to register for this if you're interested. Virtual learning opportunities are available. You can join Greenbush for the Week of the Young Child, and you can look at these here, head to toe, inside out, building language and literacy through play, and a sensory world. And those are happening during April, coming up fairly soon. So you might want to go and check those out. Camp GWC, which is formerly Growing with Children, is sponsoring a conference on April 1st and 2nd. And this usually involves about 350 professionals from across the state that join in annually. And licensed childcare providers can receive up to 7.5 in-service hours for this. And scholarship opportunities are available for the cost of registration through CACFP. And so you can go to their website and find out about how to register for this. The mental health and first aid training is available. The Governor's Commission on Racial Equity and Justice included mental health first aid training in 2 of its behavioral health recommendations. And this is teaching people how to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental illness and substance use disorders in your communities. So there's upcoming sessions from 9 to 3:30 scheduled in both April and May. And so you can go to, I believe this is the United Ministry Association, First United Methodist Ministry Association, and you can go to their website for more information.
Hey, Debbie, real quick, can you make sure I'm co-host? I think we got some people stuck in the waiting room. We appreciate your patience today, folks.
All right, we got that one. Sorry to those of you who were waiting to join us. March is National Nutrition Month, and as I mentioned, we have Kelly and Jill that are going to be joining us today to talk about the Child Care and Adult Care Food Program. And I'm sure many of you listening here already either participate in this, or if not, you're going to be able to learn a lot about this soon. And I'm going to just let them explain more of this later on, but there will be some links in the chat to access the information that you will need to get connected with that if you are interested. The Lawrence Kindergarten Transitions team is hosting an upcoming Early Childhood Family Resource Fair at their Kennedy Early Childhood Center on Saturday, April 9th from 9 to noon. And this is a very family-friendly event with over 40 local organizations that will be in attendance. And there will be networking opportunities and information for community partners to address the needs of, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong notes. This is just, we're off to a great start here, people. Anyway, please, if you are in the Lawrence area, you might want to go check this out. And kindergarten transitions is definitely a topic that we've been talking about a lot on here. And so please take advantage of this if you are in the Lawrence area. And along with the kindergarten transitions, the Kindergarten in Kansas booklet is available through the Department of Education. And these contain a lot of information on kindergarten readiness, successful transitions, checklists, and more for families and caregivers to prepare the children to transition from early childhood to kindergarten. There are paper copies that are available in multiple languages, and you can request a copy of those at the link that's being provided. We always like to share with you the work of the Early Childhood Recommendations Panel, and that panel does meet on the third Friday of every month from 9 to 11:30. The next meeting is scheduled for April 15th. And from 9 to 11:30, and you can also watch those live on the Kansas Children's Cabinet YouTube channel. And we always invite you to bring comments to those meetings. If you are interested, you can either do that verbally or written, and you could submit those comments to me prior to the meetings, and then I will coordinate that effort with you. We did recently have our last meeting on March 11th. Hannah, if you want to go to the next slide, thank you. And we did approve some final recommendations that were brought forward by the Child Care Recruitment and Retention Work Group, as well as the Quality and Environments groups. Those were approved by the full panel with a 2/3 majority vote. And those are scheduled to be presented to the Children's Cabinet Board of Directors at their meeting, which is on next Friday, April 1st. And again, you can watch those meetings live from the Kansas Children's Cabinet YouTube channel if you're interested in seeing that. And then the work groups also began what's being called phase 2 of their work, and they began to have discussions on identifying new focus areas for the next few months that they will be working on. And now we are ready for our first presenter today with our program, and it is Kelly Cahill, and she is the CACFP coordinator with Daycare Connection out of Johnson County. And Kelly, we want to welcome you to the webinar today.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, good deal. Thank you so much for letting me come and just talk to you about what CACFP is. I'm Kelly Cahill, and I am the CACFP coordinator for Daycare Connection. Daycare Connection is one of many sponsors that administer the Child and Adult Care Food Program for our county. And actually, we go to lots of counties. We recently took over an area, and we go as far as Pittsburgh now. So we go all over, and for 25 years, I've been a home visitor and not always the CACFP coordinator, but I do oversee our home visitors and our CACFP programming, I guess, basically. I love it. I've done it for 25 years. Before I did that, probably 3 years in doing home daycare, and I didn't even know about the food program. I just had my baby, and 10 days after I had my little girl, my sister had a baby with Down syndrome and she never planned to stay home. I wanted to stay home. And so it was great because my daughter got to be his peer model, and they're still best friends, and he's doing great. But then somehow I ended up at Daycare Connection part-time. And I will say that being with a food program, I learned so much as far as raising my own kiddos in the program and really learning about nutrition. And it helped me so much. And my kids are 28 and 26 now, and I feel like they're good eaters because they didn't always like everything I gave them, but they realized it was important. Anyway, Daycare Connection is also a resource and referral agency, which means for parents, we're helping with referrals, and they can call us and they can get a list of daycare providers in their area. So we try to have our providers keep us updated on their openings, because that's part for the parents that we do is a referral. And then resource is we're there for our providers as far as we administer the food program. We provide training, support, counseling. One of the things we do every year is we do a rate survey for our providers. And we try to get every single provider to answer the questions about their rates, because we have a lot of categories we'll put in there and let you just kind of see. Actually, I might have a slide of that. Let me see. It's kind of cool. We do it every single August. There it is. We do it. This is just a sample, and this might be from 2020, but for example, you can see on there, we have all of our Latha schools, and a provider could look it up by their elementary school and see if they're falling in a range that's average, high, low. We have different categories on there. You can see infant, preschool, school age, after school, just that kind of thing. So that's just one little other thing that we do. So we try to do some things like that to support our providers, but definitely our biggest program is CACFP. What is CACFP? So CACFP helps adult and child care facilities and daycare homes serve nutritious meals, basically. It's really, there is regulations to follow, of course, because it's the government, and early childhood is where they're going to learn their best habits. So of course, there's regulations to follow. And I've always felt a little bit more stricter than what the schools have to follow. But basically, providers can be reimbursed 2 meals and 1 snack a day. Or if they're not there for breakfast, they could do 2 snacks and a meal. And I hear that there's possibility down the road we might get to reimburse our providers for an extra snack. So that's exciting. Our program is administered by the USDA through, and if I say this wrong, Jill, who is our state consultant, one of our state consultants will correct me, but through our Department of Education's Child Nutrition and Wellness Department. And they're a huge, huge resource for us and us helping implement the food program. In a nutshell, the daycare providers all will keep track of their menus every month. Actually, I'm going to pop up just an example of a menu page. So we have the ability for our providers you can do this form online, or you can handwrite it and send it to us, however works for you, by email, picture, whatever. But there's a page, of course, for every month. It's a calendar month. You can see there up to the left is all your food groups, and you follow those lines across, and you're filling in your menu form every month. And every sponsor can choose how they want to administer it. And actually, I'm looking at some other programs that are beneficial to providers for turning in their menus, but we're pretty easy as far as if you want to take a picture of your menu pages and send it to us or whatever, but it is by calendar month. We have a little line on there for infants. I know it's small, but so there's guidelines to follow, but we teach all that, and it's not hard. And I think there's some of our providers on here, but sometimes when you get going, it's just a few seconds a day to fill this out. So for the reimbursement, it's really not a lot of work. And I'm going to pop up the reimbursement rates because I just think that's interesting too right now, just while we're kind of going through this. Okay, so there's 2 reimbursement rates. Right now, there is only one, and that's why every year we send this out to our providers. Every July, the rates change just a little bit for what the providers receive all of through COVID since sometime last year. I think beginning in the end of August or July. Now I can't remember, but everybody went to tier 1, the tier 1 reimbursement. So every kiddo, if you have 6 kiddos, every kiddo is going to be reimbursed $1.40 for their breakfast and $2.63 for their lunch and dinners and 78 cents for a snack. And we have a lot of providers who have kiddos in the evening, on the weekends, as long as you just choose 2 meals and a snack. Most, if you have them, all of those time frames, most providers are going to choose the meals that have the highest reimbursement. So usually we do have 2 tiers, but right now through COVID for a little bit longer, everybody's getting the tier 1 reimbursement. So that's kind of how it works on a nutshell. Then the providers will turn in their menus to us, and we have a little bit of a time frame that the numbers are expected for us to figure out. We call it menu processing time. And we figure out what each provider is going to be reimbursed. And then that money is funneled back to us to distribute to them either by direct deposit or check, however they would choose. So the history of CACFP, I have a lot of little slides, I'm sorry. We go back to 1968. It was not called CACFP until 1989, but that's just a quick little history. It's been around a long time. And other programs have been added to it, like I think summer food service and the adult daycare facilities, but it's been around a long time. And I'm a huge advocate of this program and have always loved it. So I'll leave that up just for a second in case anybody wants to see. This goes up to 2018, but over 4 million children are served every single day, and even more with the adults. And I am not looking at the comments right now, but I'll try to here in just a little bit and answer any questions that I can. Okay, so that's a little bit about the history. I want to talk about the benefits of CACFP. Of course, for us, we believe it's definitely an indicator of quality care. Parents know that their kiddos are going to get nutritious meals every single day. And as we know, I think the latest figures are 10.5% of households are food insecure. And I believe it's around 3% of those are very food insecure. And I can't remember the actual terminology, but really suffering. And so at least providers are able to really provide a good foundation for nutrition. And a lot of our providers tell us that the parents say, I can't believe they'll eat that at your house. And they want me to cook it like you cook it or make it and those kind of things. So we know it's making an impact, and it's fun to hear those kind of stories because our providers they really try hard to involve kids in menu planning, and they're learning all those things that make kids excited about nutrition. And so it's exciting to see that kids are getting such good, well-rounded meals. And a lot of times we know that parents are having to do a lot of the convenience things, and the time in the evening is short, or they're stopping at McDonald's on the way home. And so CACFP is really a time for kiddos to be served nutritious, well-rounded meals. And there are some regulations that seem a little strict and tight, but this is our best opportunity before the kiddos get into school to really give them a good foundation. So I would say the parents and getting the nutritious meals is a great thing, but also meals that are served to kids in CACFP are more nutritious and contain less fat. And that is just by nature of the meal pattern that is in place for infants and kiddos. So that's a big deal, as we know with what the obesity rates are in our country. So this program is very, very impactful, and parents like to see that their providers are participating in it. So like I said before, we do a lot. I was going to see if I was going to show you another slide. Oh, I will here in a minute. Another benefit, of course, they're going to get that reimbursement. So usually what happens is the providers will do their menu pages. It's calendar month. They will turn them in. So next week is the end of our month. Our providers have 3 to 5 days to get their menus into us. And then we have a certain amount of time that we are figuring out how many meals they did serve for breakfast, lunch, whatever. We're figuring out basically their number of meals. That goes into a system that's a check is then figured out for how much that provider receives. So it's always the first month when you're getting going, it's always the next month you get your check, but the end of every month, the beginning of usually the first few days of the month, if not before, you're getting your reimbursement check. And then, like I said, we offer a lot of training and support. I don't know if I said before, but most of our staff, I believe, besides our director, Valerie Cable, we're daycare providers. So it's been fun. I personally, I think I've been there 25 years, and the other gals have all been there at least 8 or 9, 10 now, and they were all daycare providers. So it's really fun because we feel like we've been on both ends, and we come into your home to support you and not judge you. And we have fun events twice a year. We do a 6-hour Saturday training. I'm trying to work with some other agencies to start collaborating on trainings and that kind of thing. So I'm really excited about that. I told you about the rate survey. The counseling, again, parent situations. Some of us are social workers, licensed social workers as well. So we'll try to help our providers with any situations that come up that with parents that they might need a little extra support. We love nutrition. I always joke that I hate cooking, but I absolutely love nutrition. Hate cooking. My husband loves to cook, thank you, Lord. But I love nutrition. And so I always get excited talking about food program. I'm trying to think, just if anybody who doesn't do it and you're just interested in what food program is more about, or you have more specific questions that I didn't get to here, I'm going to pop my card up, my contact information, and feel free anytime to send me an email, a text, anything. And just, if I can answer any questions, we'll even just come out and bring you our orientation book and you can just look through it. We have a lot of business things in there, just about like contracts and things you can do with your parents, things we recommend as far as setting up your business, that kind of thing. And we love to talk about it. So anytime you're not wasting our time, no question, it's a great program. It's a voluntary program. And it's, can you guys see my email okay there? Kelly@daycareconnection.org. Okay. And so that's my phone. You literally can call, text me anytime on it, or you can email me, you can call. We love to talk about food program. And do you guys want me to go through my chats now and see if I can find, if there's any questions for me? Let me do that real quick here.
I think there was one question, but I think that Jill snagged it. But I am curious, Kelly, in your experience, what are some of the reasons that parents have given in the past but providers have given in the past for not participating in the food program? What are some of the maybe misconceptions, or just kind of what are some things that have been a barrier for them?
That's a great question. And definitely, like I said, there are guidelines they're having to follow. And sometimes it seems, maybe they're, and some of us were talking about this. You used to be able to have to, mark your vitamin A's and C's and I's. You don't have to do that anymore. There's certain things we can't do that some of the schools can do that seem a little bit maybe more strict. Like we don't do sweet snacks. We can do animal crackers and graham crackers, but we don't get to do brownies and cookies because, just quite frankly, they probably get enough of that. And so the program does without that kind of thing. But it's a program of education, not, if you just don't write down something, of course you're not going to get paid, but we really try to educate and would never judge. I mean, we're all learning all the time, but I would say some people think it's a lot of paperwork. I've heard that. It's really not. Like I said, you have on top of those menu pages that I threw up there, you have a cover sheet that you're just signing and you're telling us, hey, I'm on vacation, or I had a baby, or anything fun you want to tell us. We love that. And then there's an attendance page you just mark. But other than that, the paperwork is pretty easy, but I think it's gotten a bad rap. And I do think sometimes the guidelines, some people just think maybe it's too strict as far as, and now it has gotten, I believe it's gotten a lot better because parents do guide when babies are developmentally ready to add foods, for example. But then when they do start foods, there are guidelines you have to follow. And of course, there's still items that they don't want us to serve our babies. I can't think of any right really like right now besides maybe like those little yogurt bites or things like that. But I would say just because of some of the guidelines, maybe it's gotten a bad rap, but it's really, I promise it is not, it really is not that bad. And the paperwork, once our providers tell us that they get going on it, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't. I had one who joined. I've always tried to, it was a neighbor doing care of another provider. And she had some of those negative connotations about food program. And so even though my provider who's been with us forever and we have a great relationship would say, no, you will love it. Da, da, da. Well, now she's doing it because now with the tier 1 mini reimbursement, especially, she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't do this before. And then at the same time, we're offering support and training and trying to just be a support system for our providers. But that's probably some of the things, just the actual paperwork and there is an enrollment form for every family that comes into your care. But again, you can fill that out. We've made it. I think things have come a long way because our programs have lightened up on the way we do things. And so, for example, there's an enrollment form and for every family, and that gets turned into us. But again, you can fill that out. Have your family. The families have to fill out the enrollment forms, but you can have them do it in your home. We always recommend that because you know how that is once paperwork leaves your house. You can take a picture and email it to us. You don't have to drop it off. You don't have to put it in the mail and find a stamp. So we're trying to find ways to always make it easier for the providers. And so I really hope people who haven't done it in the past will maybe give it a try.
My other question, and yes, I remember, so I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I've been blessed with fantastic family child care providers, and I filled out the paperwork. It took all of, I think, probably 3 seconds. It was very easy.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it was super easy. Some other question,
Thank you.
and just to clarify, is that Daycare Connection serves family child care homes, correct? Not centers?
Yes.
Just okay.
No, we just do homes, and I believe we are the largest sponsor of homes of all the sponsors. And I don't know how many there is. Jill can probably answer that now. I want to say maybe 15 or 16 sponsors in Kansas. And we just do homes.
So my question is, if you had to approximate it for a family child care provider, once they're rolling, once they've got all their paperwork in and they're, on a regular basis doing their paperwork, what would be the weekly lift for a family child care provider to engage in this food program?
Are you talking about the
just the amount of time it would take to fill out the paperwork, like on a weekly basis, or however frequently they need to? We
like them, and it is a USD requirement to do your menus daily. But like what I tell most people is take some clips and just hook one of those pages right onto your fridge, and after breakfast you're recording it, after lunch you're recording it. It literally is not even minutes a day. It's so easy. And if most people who have 6 kiddos, just depending, right now it's tier 1, so I would say if you have 6 kiddos, 500 to 600-ish a month. And then, but like I said, really it's a marketing tool for providers, and parents really like to see that their childcare provider is participating in this. But yeah, as far as the, 15 minutes a week for the actual paperwork, it's easy. Thank you for that question. Anything else at all? Like I said, my contact's up there. If I keep it up there, yeah. Anytime, call, text. We don't mind at all getting questions. And if you just even want somebody to come and bring you some information and leave you some information or mail it to you, we're happy to do that. And maybe some of our providers, if they're on here, can pop in and say how they feel about it.
Well, thank you, Kelly, for that information and for,
Sure.
I mean, just listening to just a few minutes a day at best, and then the amount of reimbursement that they are receiving. I'm sure, especially during the pandemic times of challenges that they're facing to even stay open a lot of times, that
Exactly.
those reimbursements are very, very helpful.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we would like to move on to Jill Ladd. And as I said before, Jill is with the Kansas State Department of Education with the CACFP program as well. And she's going to share some additional information on on everything as well, not just focused on family childcare, but childcare centers too. Hi,
Yeah.
Jill.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you guys for allowing me to present a little bit of information about the Child and Adult Care Food Program. Appreciate Kelly sharing the resources and how they support family daycare homes. And in the chat box, you will find a link to a flyer that we have that includes a listing of all of our sponsoring organizations of family daycare homes. And so you can take a look at that. We always encourage providers, if you're a family daycare home provider, take a look at that list. Call up several of those sponsors and ask questions that are important to you. What type of training? How do you provide training? How do you want menus to be submitted to you? Can I have reimbursement electronically? Ask lots of different questions that are important to you and find the right fit. Everybody has to follow the same regulations, but how they go about providing that information and the technical assistance that they provide can be a little bit different. So we definitely would encourage you to call multiple sponsors and look to find the best fit for you. So take a look at that. Kelly did a great job of covering many of the benefits of the CACFP, and those benefits cross over not only from the family daycare home side, but also to the center side of childcare. I believe it was Hannah asked a question about what are some of the misconceptions that are out there around CACFP, and I think Kelly covered a lot of those. One of the ones that I wanted to talk about was breastfeeding. And there's actually been a new regulation recently that allows providers, both on center side and home side, that if a mom comes on site, she can breastfeed her child and you would still get reimbursement for that, for providing that place for the mother to breastfeed on site. You can also get reimbursement if a mother provides express breast milk. And so the providers can still receive that reimbursement when those families are providing breast milk. So really exciting that was a recent change to the regulations. Now, Kelly talked a lot about the benefits to children for participating in the CACFP, and also talked about those financial reimbursements that childcare providers can receive for participating. A couple of other things that I think are really great benefits to childcare providers to participate in the CACFP is that we provide free training, and that training can count towards your KDHE annual training requirements. KDHE and KSDE, so Department of Education, we have an agreement that any training that we provide or those sponsoring organizations of homes that provide, that training can count towards those annual training requirements. So who doesn't love free training? Because I know that you do have to get several hours each year. And then you also have access to a lot of free nutrition education curriculum and resources. Families, I kind of put in the chat box that not only are kids getting nutrition education, but so are the families that, they're getting to see what you're offering to those kids. And, they might have been intimidated to offer some of those foods that maybe aren't as familiar. And if, providers are providing that, parents can see that, hey, maybe my kid will eat that. So I think that those are some other benefits to the CACFP. Couple of things about program requirements about who can participate on the CACFP. Programs do have to be licensed. You do have to serve meals and snacks that meet the requirements of the CACFP meal pattern. And you do have to attend required child nutrition trainings each year. But again, those trainings do count over towards your KDHE training hours as well. Kelly talked about documenting daily menus, daily meal count and attendance records, and then those that enrollment information. And then, of course, if you're at a center level, you'd need to provide staff with CACFP responsibilities with training each year as well. So Kelly did a wonderful job of talking about how daycare homes can participate in the CACFP. So I also wanted to cover a little bit about how childcare centers can participate and what requirements a childcare center has to meet in order to participate. So I believe that there is a slide that's going to be shown here. And for site eligibility at the child care center level, again, it does have to be a licensed child care center, and any licensed nonprofit child care centers can participate in the CACFP. Now, if it's a for-profit child care center, those for-profit centers do have to meet one of the following criteria. Either 25% of children in care are eligible for free or reduced price meals, or 25% of the children in care receive child care subsidy benefits. So on the home side, Kelly shared the reimbursement rates, and on the center side, it's actually different reimbursement rates. And the amount that centers are reimbursed for the food that they provide is that monthly reimbursement is calculated based on the number of meals and snacks that are served, the number of children eating, and then a claiming percentage, which takes into account the number of children that qualify for free meals, reduced price meals, and paid meals. And we get that information through something called enrollment and income eligibility forms. And that's one of those forms that you would have families fill out once a year that helps determine what status they would fall into, which helps determine the reimbursement amount that your center would receive. The same as daycare homes, eligible centers can be reimbursed for up to 2 meals and 1 snack, or 1 meal and 2 snacks per day per child. And I think Kelly did a great job of showing what those food components are. And, if you participate on the program, you're going to get training on what has to be served at each of the meals and snacks. And I'm going to put in the chat box a link to a brochure that we have for centers. For daycare homes, they're going to have to participate underneath a sponsoring organization. So that's like Kelly was referring to with Daycare Connections. But if you're a center, you're actually going to participate under the Kansas State Department of Education. So you would reach out to our agency so that we could help you with those requirements. And I can put my information in the chat box as well. But what other questions do people have about the CACFP? I know I've looked at a little bit the participant list and see several people names that I am familiar with. So I know that we have some CACFP participants on the call today as well. Oh, and I just got a private chat. We have some school sponsors that have joined us for this call as well. And just wanted to highlight the fact that preschools can also participate on the CACFP, or they can participate through the National School Lunch Program. And we've seen an increase in the number of schools that have been offering childcare. And so we have definitely worked with schools that have been participating on the CACFP as well. So do know that there are ways to feed those pre-K kids through different child nutrition programs, and we can visit with you individually about what the best option would be for your particular school. But it's exciting that we're able to feed, infant through grade 12 through the child nutrition programs that are available.
Okay, Jill, thank you. We have been having some major technical issues on our side. Hannah lost her screen altogether, and I was trying to pull up the PowerPoint, but I wasn't having any luck. So I greatly appreciate everyone's patience, all the information that you were able to share, and that I was halfway able to listen to part of what was happening. So does anybody have any additional questions for Jill or Kelly based on their presentations today? I really want to thank both of you for being here. And I know as a former participant and provider in this program, it was very, very helpful. And I did mention earlier that I was there before when they made us do all the different vitamin things. And the only problem I ever had was that my kiddos didn't like spinach. So we always had to find an alternative to that. But I think that's much easier these days. I'm seeing in the chat that Jennifer Pishney is sharing that Tom Copeland wrote a great article about CACFP financial advantages years ago, and the numbers might be out of date, but it explains how providers can benefit. Mhm. So I'm not going to do any screen sharing. We're just going to finish out here with some general updates. So thank you very much. We do have some meetings coming up. As I mentioned, the Early Childhood Recommendations Panel meeting is on April 15th from 9 to 11:30. And then we do have our Children's Cabinet Board of Directors meeting that's scheduled for next Friday on April 1st from 9 to noon. And then a stakeholders group meeting with that will be held that afternoon from 1:30 to 3. So if you're interested in registering for either one of those. And then we have something a little bit different for our next webinar, which is going to be, the date and time are changing for our next webinar. As many of you who participate know, our webinars usually happen at noon every other Wednesday, but we are going to be hearing a program presentation by the Child Care Providers Coalition of Kansas, known as CCPC, and we are going to hold an evening meeting this next time around that may be able to accommodate some more providers to be able to attend. At least we hope so. And so that meeting is going to be taking place on Tuesday, April 5th from 7 to 8 p.m. And we do hope that everyone can still join us. And we're going to be sending out a save the date reminder to all of the webinar registrants for this so that we can keep you informed on that and remind you that it will be at a different day and time. So you can be watching for that. And then to end today's webinar, I always like to end with a few closing words. And today they're from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And just to celebrate our first week of spring. So the quote is, "The spring came suddenly, bursting upon the world as a child bursts into a room with a laugh and a shout and hands full of flowers." So with that, I wish everyone a great rest of your day. Again, we thank you for your patience today as we've navigated through some technical difficulties. I think maybe Kelly, you and I jinxed ourselves when we were talking about the technical world and Zoom life that we're living these days. But anyway, thank you for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here again on Tuesday, April 5th in the evening. Take care, everybody.